Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Quotes Light and Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, William H. Got another great episode. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving meal. I hope everyone had a chance to sit with family and spend some time with family and eat and drink and enjoy just being in that space. So, going to dive into the episode for today. Got another great quote that we'll go into. Far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. End quote. And that quote is by Theodore Roosevelt. Of course, we know Theodore Roosevelt was the president of the United States, the 26th president of the United States. But I love this quote. Dear mighty things, far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure. I love that sentence. Dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs. To me, this is saying that it's better to have a major goal that you're going after, even though it's not guaranteed, even though you don't know you're going to win, even though you don't know that you're going to have success. But like the struggle is great, like daring mighty things, trying to do something great that you could possibly fail at is where, you know, there's joy in that. There's joy in trying to do something that has a possibility of failure. Far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much. Those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much. So it's talking about those people who, never try anything extraordinary. They never go after what they want. They always second guess everything. They don't want to try to do anything difficult. They always doubt that they'll be able to accomplish something. They don't want to try anything if there's a possibility of failure. That's what I get from that. Those are poor spirits. People who don't want to try anything that's going to make them uncomfortable. People who are comfortable with the status quo, who don't want to be great, who don't want to grow, who don't want to go for something great because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. A gray twilight. So to me, they're talking about just the gray twilight of your routines, right? Just going day by day, doing the same thing, going to the same job every day, not trying to advance in any way, not trying to better yourself in any way, not trying to grow in any way or challenge yourself or get everything out of it that you could be getting out of it for growth, but just comfortable, right? Comfortable going to the job and having a routine and not looking to grow as a person, as a human being. And that's what I think, as I said in previous episodes, life is about growth, that we have to be pursuing growth. We have to be constantly trying to get better and grow. And I just think about, this quote in relation to my life. All the things that I'm most proud of that I've accomplished in my life were things that were difficult and that I didn't know whether I was going to have success or failure. One of the first mighty things I would say that I attempted, even though, checkered by failure, if we pull from this quote, was going to Lincoln University, right, in HBCU, that was far away from my home, about 5 hours away from my hometown, where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody on the campus, but the opportunity came to me. I had already applied to several schools. I applied to Pitt, got into Pitt, applied to Penn State, got into Penn State. But then I had this opportunity to go to Lincoln University where I could, have a scholarship, academic scholarship, and be able to go to this HBCU that I had never heard of before one of my counselors told me about it. And they were the ones that gave me the scholarship. They were the ones that gave me the most money and the biggest opportunity. And so I could have looked at that as, I don't know anything about the school. I'm not comfortable. I don't really want to leave my hometown. I don't know anybody up there. I don't want to step outside my comfort zone. But instead, instead of me staying local to Pittsburgh and going to school there, I decided to leave, to take the jump and go to Lincoln University. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And I don't say that lightly. The people I've met, the growth that happened to me on that campus, the family that I have as a result of taking that leap, the HBCU college experience, it's valuable. the HBCU college experience, man, it's hard to explain if you didn't go to school on one of those campuses. If you've never been to homecoming, it's hard to explain. But it's something I wouldn't trade for the world, man. I love going back to my college and seeing people, and it's like family. Another thing that was scary for me, buying a house. That was another area where, I was living in an apartment and I could have got comfortable just living in an apartment and never want to aspire to owning a home, but it was something I always wanted to do. Even though I didn't have the skills or familiarity with fixing things in a home, or didn't understand all the bills involved with home ownership and taxes and all that type of stuff, I still felt compelled to take the leap because I felt like that was the next step for me. I felt like I was ready to do it. And was just going to learn as I go and adjust. And that's what I found in life, is that a lot of times we make things much bigger than they really are, right? I mean, in our minds, things can be so big in our minds that it's really, once you get into it and you start dealing with the issues and you handle a few issues and you overcome a few obstacles, you realize that this thing was much bigger in my head than it is actually, as I'm experiencing it. We have a tendency to make things much bigger than they really are. We create these monsters in our mind when the reality is it's not really a monster. It's really a molehill, but in your mind you've made it into a monster. So I just want to encourage everyone to be open, be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, be willing to have big goals and big dreams, be willing to learn and make mistakes and grow, and not have to have everything be perfect before you do something. Be willing to step out on faith and make mistakes and adjust as you go along. Even during the pandemic, it was chaos in the pandemic, right? There was a lot of questions about what the future looks like. Everyone's working from home, some people losing their jobs, etc. And I looked at it as an opportunity to move from my hometown to Atlanta, and it's one of the best decisions I've made. It's another great decision that I made. It's something that I don't regret looking back on it now, over a year later, and I'm actually very happy that I made that decision, and it's caused me to grow so much and me to see so many more things because I was willing and open and receptive to changing my environment, to getting uncomfortable, to moving to a whole new city with a few people I knew, but not a whole lot of people I knew. In the middle of a pandemic, when folks were panicking and chaos was erupting, I was willing to take the chance and go ahead and move and trust and believe that I would still be able to keep my job, and if not, I'd be able to get another job, or I'd be able to make ends meet some type of way. But I knew it was time for me to go, and it was something that I had been planning on moving before the pandemic even hit. But instead of looking at the pandemic as an obstacle, I looked at it as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to move, to change my environment, to do some things differently than I had done up to that point, to try something new, with the mindset that I can always go back to Pittsburgh if I wanted to. I could always move back to my hometown if I wanted to. If I really, really hated it or really disliked it, I could always move back. That's always an option. But for me not to even try it out, that's me giving out before you even taking an opportunity or taking a chance to try it. That's what I want to be more open to, as we end the year and we get into, we're coming up on 2022. Just want to be open to trying things and making mistakes, and having big goals, and not having to have everything figured out to the T, but willing to make mistakes, adjust, and still win, right? Instead of, having something in my head that's a big obstacle that, I'm never going to attempt because I'm so scared, and I've made a monster in my head before I've even tried to overcome this obstacle. So I can think about this as well as it relates to purchasing a rental property, right? I had thought about purchasing a rental property before I actually purchased my first one. I had, in my head, I had been thinking about, I've been reading books about rental property and owning rental property and being a landlord and all types of things like that. But I was always hesitant, nervous, scared about all the things that could go wrong, right? We tend to think about all the things that could go wrong when we're trying something new, or when we're evaluating a new area. But what about all the things that could go right, right? What about if something does go wrong, it's not the end of the world, but you learn from it and you adjust. That's a new type of mindset. That's the mindset I want to be in as I'm getting older and as the new year's upon us and we're getting to the end of the year. That's the type of mindset I want to take into the future. No matter what happens, I'm going to be able to handle it. I'm going to adjust and I'm going to come out victorious. That's the mindset I want. The mindset of Kanye. Can't nobody tell Kanye that he's not the greatest. Can't nobody tell me I'm not the greatest. Can't nobody tell me they're going to outwork me. Ain't nobody going to put more hours in than I am. Right? Ain't nobody going to work harder for what they want than I do. That's just my mindset. That's the type of mindset you got to have. And there's one other thing I wanted to share that I came across this week as well about jumping, right? About jumping, having a big goal and taking the jump, taking the leap to attain that big goal. So most people are scared to jump because they're scared, if they jump and they fail, right? Then what? Then it's like the end of the world. You fail and that's it. But failure is really not the end of the world. You know, Failure is really an opportunity to learn and adjust, like I've said before. And just like this quote said, far better is it to dare mighty things to win glorious triumphs, even though you're checkered by failure. So even though you have many failures, but you also have many triumphs because you've tried. You've went for glorious triumphs. You've had a big goal that you've tried to obtain. And so it's kind of like you think of it like this: if you don't jump, you won't die. But if you don't jump, you won't live either. I'll say that again. If you don't jump, you won't die. But if you don't jump, you won't live either. I don't know about y'all, but I choose to live. I choose to live.